Hello and welcome to this short introductory video that talks about how to sustain productivity in a virtual world. My name is Dr. Kenny Ewulu. I'm the Chief Coach, Lead Coach and CEO of KDE Leadership. And I'll be sharing with you a short video, maybe 10-15 minutes, introducing you to the world of sustaining productivity in a virtual world. As you can see from the screen here, we already have coaching programs that deal with this. But this video is just to introduce you as a decision maker, as a director, as a boss in whatever organization you work for or you work in, to see whether this is something you can put together, you can consider for your staff, knowing that right now we work in a virtual environment, of course, due to all the happenings of the last, should I say, 1 year. So having said that, I would like to just go ahead and begin to share with us exactly what it is I have for us today. The first question we have to ask ourselves is, how did the business world get here? I mean, as you do recall, we're working on how to sustain productivity in a virtual world. So how did the business world get here? We all know that there's been this clamor for virtual work in our organization since the mid-2000s. It's not a new thing, okay? But recent global events have made it necessary to embrace the world of virtual interactions. And because of that, productivity and response times to tasks and deadlines have been impacted, albeit negatively, okay? Remote workers resist or balk at comprehensive supervision, right? If you're a supervisor in your place of work, you find that it's more difficult right now to remotely supervise people, okay? And that means that employers and supervisors are flying blind mostly, okay? We have to take the word of our employees or our remotely located staff members. They're doing what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do them, and at the pace they're supposed to do them. Certain benchmarks we have for monitoring and controlling our employees have become antiquated or shelved or non-existent. Of course, COVID-19 and the global dormant economy has aided the lethargy we face now. So entrepreneurs are asking questions, business leaders are asking questions. How do we sustain our outputs? Bosses and managers are asking, how do we inspire high productivity? I want to promise you today that what you will take away from this brief description or this brief presentation to you today will be that work from home employees and business owners will take away from this topic the ability to identify their challenges as we try to maintain and improve our productivity while working virtually. Number two, for bosses and managers, this topic will address our need for a roadmap towards motivating and supervising our remote workers to higher levels of performance. Finally, this topic will also review practices that we can leverage as leaders, okay, currently in our social distancing mandates to stay productive and profitable. Having said that, there are a few questions we should ask ourselves in our organizations. Are we utilizing virtual workers? Are we experiencing remote productivity challenges? Are we looking for productivity sustenance strategies? Do you think that our team members probably need coaching? Now, these are questions I want you to have at the back of your mind as you make a decision as to whether this is something you want to really engage your people in so they can become more productive in this virtual working era. I want you to remember these remote working challenges as we progress. Research has shown that remote workers tend to log in more hours than their office-based counterparts. Why is that so? They're beginning to experience a blurring, okay, of boundaries between their home and work lives. They're working all the time, 2-3 hour stretches, but they're working early in the morning, late in the afternoon, late in the evenings. There's a blur between their work time and their play time and their family time. There's no difference anymore. Why? Because most of the work is now being done remotely. So in order to sustain productivity in your virtual work environment, KDEL has identified several actions we feel that your organization should take. And some of these actions can be broadly defined as how to establish a productivity baseline. That's one. How to indoctrinate a high performance mindset. That's another. How to inspire efficiency and effectiveness remotely. That's another. Finally, how to learn the basics of micromanagement and self-directed work. I'm going to break this down a little bit for us because sometimes it seems like a lot of big grammar put together. But basically, these are really very simple things that we must grapple with, okay? Now, to establish a productivity baseline, we must learn how to plan and standardize things. So some of the planning and standardization considerations we should have, questions we should ask ourselves as we try to establish a productivity baseline are, what tasks must be completed? In what order must they be completed? How much time is adequate for completing the tasks? What scope and quality standards constitute acceptable completion? Are time buffers included in the schedule calculations? Now, as we move on our quest to establish a productivity baseline, we must also have certain considerations that revolve around involving the troops, what I've called involving the troops. Questions there will include, did you leverage bottom-up estimation for this exercise? Did you allow the probable field executors of the tasks to submit their recommendations to you? Did you allow the anticipated supervisors of field execution to submit their recommendations? Did their recommendations include scope, quality, time, and logistic details? Remember that your logistic details should include software, calendar dates, leads, buffers, lags, okay? Now, furthermore, as we go into establishing a productivity baseline, other questions you should ask in the area of piloting and evolving clientele needs are, did you test the outcome of your plan in-house? That's what we call piloting. Did you tweak and adjust your plans based on the results from the pilot run or the dry run you had? Did you factor in current client expectations? Sometimes we do a test a month before, and by the time it's time to execute, you find that the client's needs have changed or the expectations have changed. Always remember to go back and make sure that the client's expectations are current, okay? That's how to sustain productivity in a virtual world. Did you add more time to your planning to ensure that changing client expectations can be accommodated without asking? Did you leave some more schedule room for expected disparities between co-located and remote workers? These are all things that you have to take into consideration as you pilot and take into consideration evolving clientele needs. Having said that, the final thing I want to talk about as we go into this issue is, as you indoctrinate a high performance mindset, remember, as you want to sustain productivity in a virtual world, the people who are working in those remote locations must have a high performance mindset. If they do not have a dream or a vision of a high ideal they want to attain, guess what? They're not going to strive towards it. So in order to do that, we're going to coach your people through whether they received feedback. Did they give feedback? Did they receive feedback? Did they tweak? Did they milestone? Okay? Did you receive feedback from frontline supervisors and executors? Did you select relevant suggestions from that feedback? Did you insert the selected feedback into your baseline plan and operational policies? Did you do that? Did you tweak your original plan with the executors' input? Did you break your operational plan into easily achievable chunks? Did you solicit executors' input for this exercise? When you break your plan into easily achievable chunks, that is called milestoning. But this is not the avenue to teach and coach on that. This is just to sensitize you as to the needs of your employees as we all embrace the world over virtual work and how to sustain or even improve our productivity levels even though we're working in a virtual perspective. Now, also, in order to indoctrinate that high performance mindset, you need to inculcate buy-in, ownership, pride, or rewards to your workers. Did you remind executors of their input into the operational plan? Did you try to obtain their buy-in and loyalty? You see, if people give an advice and they see some snippets of that advice in the final plan, they're on board with you because they can see their input into the operational plan. That's what I mean by loyalty and buy-in, okay? Did you obtain their ownership by pinpointing and referencing their input? Did you assign the tasks and allow them to determine the ways and means for execution? People don't like being micromanaged. They want you to, okay, you want me to get this done. This is a deadline I have to do it. These are the quality expectations. They want you to leave them alone to determine how to do that, what ways and means to accomplish that. It gives them a sense of they're not being teleguided, okay? Nobody likes being told what to do, all right? Allow them some leeway to feel that they have their own input into production. Did you use an acceptable reward system, okay, for motivational and high performance purposes? Remember that rewards are sometimes unique to the recipient. These are some of the things we're going to be coaching into your supervising staff to know how to apply different reward systems to different people based on their seasons in life and their levels of professional development. Again, we're going to be looking at self-tracking and the learning curve. We're going to show you how to self-track, encourage your people to self-track, and how to factor in the inefficiencies of the learning curve to allow for them to grow gradually. So, questions you're asking in this aspect will be, to achieve those efficiencies and effectiveness in remote workers, did you give your team members the ability, through software, of course, to track their performance, to track their own performance by comparing with the baseline plan and milestones? Did you give them some allowances for occasional performance dips that are caused by the learning curve? For instance, when somebody's learning a new software, he might produce 200 units per hour. By the time he or she becomes very good at using that software, the production rate might rise from 200 to 300 units per hour. That is what is called the learning curve. And that's part of what we teach, and how to set up and schedule performance and expectations with your people so they are gradually upping the expectations without getting them to crash, okay? So are you teaching them the values of finish-start relationships? And we're going to be discussing a lot more about those as we get into the training per se. There's another aspect we've called incrementalism, and that is how to gradually increase the expectations as they become more expert in utilizing the tools and the techniques and the software that your organization uses. You want to plan that in. You don't want to give them targets that they can't achieve in the first 6 months because they're not as good as you are. That's why they're being paid smaller salaries, okay? They're not as good as you are. So you got to give them time to learn from you, to grow with you, and then to get to that your own level of expertise that now expects them to, guess what, achieve the amount of output and productivity that you are able to achieve. That is what we call incrementalism. I'm going to be teaching that as well. Okay, and then we're going to be looking at remote monitoring and illusionary boundaries. And this is how to inspire effectiveness remotely. People want to know that they're being monitored, but they're not being monitored keystroke by keystroke. They're being monitored because you have given them a deadline, you've given them a milestone, you've given them quality expectations, quality targets to get to. Allow them to get there. Allow them to use whatever means they have to do. If they have to work at nights to meet their schedules, that's fine. As long as those things are on your table, 8 a.m. the next morning as prescribed, you're good. And these are the things we work on. People need to know that they're being monitored, okay? And so you're giving them boundaries that are illusionary. They're in their minds. And because of that, they are working hard and to schedule. So having said that, I want to take us to a few leadership pitfalls, because we're all leaders in one way or the other. And in this era of working virtually, sustaining productivity in remote work settings does require us to be mindful of certain key remote leadership pitfalls. What are these? Taking your remote people for granted and forgetting to show appreciation. That's a pitfall. Setting and forgetting, meaning not staying connected with your people. Because that is, out of sight, out of mind. Okay, if you used to walk past their offices 10 times a day, suddenly you're sending them emails 2 or 3 times a day because they're not there anymore. So that's an example of setting and forgetting, and it's a leadership pitfall. Are you micromanaging unnecessarily? If they finish their tasks on time, you have nothing to fear. Don't go there and say and keep saying, how are you doing? Are we on task? Progress, status. That is putting pressure. That is micromanagement. Nobody likes that. From the minion in the office to the top dog in the office. Nobody likes somebody else breathing down their necks, okay? Are you expecting your employees to be available 24/7? Don't do that. They're not going to be available 24/7. Give them a break. Have a drink. Get out there, have coffee or lunch or something with a friend. It doesn't matter they've missed an hour or two over there. What matters is that they meet the deadline and that their product is up to your quality expectations. Finally, getting hung up on, I can't see them, so they must not be working. It's a mentality. And some of us, because we can't physically see our people as they work, we tend to think they're goofing off. Disabuse your minds of that. And that's part of what we're going to be coaching into the leaderships, how to work with these things so they can avoid these key leadership pitfalls. We're going to be reviewing more of these in detail at the coaching program. So we're going to look at the fourth part of sustaining productivity in a virtual world, okay? And that is leveraging milestones to micromanage. When I say leveraging milestones, I'm saying questions I'm asking is, have you broken your objectives into smaller tasks? Have you made your milestones into control points and templates for self-directed work? Did you nudge or poke your remote team members via email or FTP uploads at milestone points to share their supervisory input? Has micromanagement been reduced? And has celebrating small wins become the norm? When we talk about small wins, at every point at the end of a milestone, if your people have achieved what they were supposed to achieve, take a break, celebrate, pat them on the back, say, hey, well done. It gives them the oomph, okay, the power and the enthusiasm to come back again the next day and get into work. Why? Because they were told, well done, faithful servant, yesterday. If you didn't do that, guess what? Your people suffer from demotivation. They feel as if they are not being rewarded or appreciated enough. So take time, use those milestone points to take a pause and celebrate those small wins. Let it be a habit, a practice within your organization. Now, we're also going to be looking at the basics of training, delegation, and management by objectives. A few observations we have in the KDEL team, and I'll be closing now. Virtual training is required to get virtual team members up to speed on quality and timeliness of delivery. Let me say that again. Virtual training is required to get virtual team members up to speed on quality and timeliness of delivery. Number two, properly trained, competent, and efficient staff are easy to delegate tasks to. You cannot delegate tasks to somebody who hasn't been well trained. Collaboratively setting goals and objectives with virtual staff and for virtual staff, milestone by milestone, allows for task buy-in, ownership, macro management, and timely task delivery. As you can see here, I said macro management and not micro management, okay? Macro is you have a bird's eye view, you tell them what you want done and the quality expectations, and you step back and let them get it done. That's macro management. Give them the tools they need and get out of the way. Now, having said that, when your organization enrolls her employees and managers for this coaching program, and I said when, not if, because this is imperative in order to sustain productivity in a virtual world. So when you do that, we'll be sharing our expert recommendations on how to sustain productivity in a virtual world. What do these recommendations look like? We'll be talking about how to create a communications culture, okay? We'll be talking about scheduling work times and break periods. We'll be talking about scheduling collaborative tasks in the midst of workable finish-start relationships. You're going to be asking me what are finish-start relationships. We'll be dealing with that in the training program. You'll be talking about delegating with the aim of empowering team members to perform tasks without your supervision. We'll be looking at prioritizing tasks and assignments into important, urgent, and watch list categories in order to help you determine which tasks to handle first, which tasks to take care of secondly, and which tasks to put on a list so that when you have a little more time, you can go back there and get them done. We'll be looking at how to encourage the use of milestones and how to use phase gates to micromanage. Now, these might sound a lot like a lot of mumbo jumbo, but that's what we bring to the table to get your people, not just you. As a top manager, you might understand what I'm talking about. But guess what? For your team to be virtually very productive, wherever they are as a team, guess what? All of them must understand what I'm talking about. How to use milestones and how to use phase gates to macromanage. Now, having said all these things, I want to say something here to us, okay? What I want to share with us right now is, let me just put that on the screen for you here so you see exactly what it is. I've just shared with you over the last 10 minutes or so what it would take to get into that coaching program called Sustaining Productivity in a Virtual World. You're asking me now, what are my next steps? And on the screen here, as you can see, are the next steps that I would like you to look at. Next steps are, will help you with your productivity management needs, okay? Definitely, that's why we're here. But in order to do that, we want you to enroll your team members here. And when I say here, I'm looking at this highlighted portion. If you go to our website, you just copy this or take a screenshot right now, or if you're watching this video, just click on this. It's www.kdeleadership.com/coaching, and then you do -sustaining-productivity in a virtual world. So when you click on that, it takes you straight into the enrollment page for your team members. Now, these are single enrollments, as you can see when you get there. Okay, you want to talk a little bit more about that? As you can see on our screen, you can book an online appointment by going to this next link here, okay? calendly.com/KDE leadership/13 minutes. When you click on that, https://calendly.com/KDE leadership/30 minutes. You will have an ability to see all our available times and schedule 30-minute phone calls for us to have a discussion, okay? But really, all you need in order to get on board with this Sustaining Productivity in a Virtual World training program is to go to this outlined link that you can see here right now. You go there, you're going to see exactly how to get on board with that. Now, having said that, I want to say thank you for joining me for this brief video. It's been about 20 minutes. I really appreciate your sharing your time with me. We have some other coaching programs which you might be interested in looking at. And as we say, if you look down here, you see another link there. That is kdeleadership.com/products. Again, go to kdeleadership.com/products. When you go there, you're going to see a long list of products that we offer. But basically, the coaching programs, I think, if you're watching this video, you're going to be interested in will include executive leadership coaching, how to manage change and diversity, how to manage scarce human resources and empowerment, how to measure productivity in a virtual world, project management knowledge, skills, and attitudes, how to set up a project management office and how to manage it, project management software training, and we've placed a lot of emphasis on Microsoft projects and, of course, Concept Draw Office version 6. That is really critical because it takes you into brainstorming sessions and automatically gets you how to do WBSAs and Gantt charts and network analysis and critical path diagrams and all that good stuff, which we will be able to coach your people so that your organization can be more productive even in this virtual era. Finally, we also coach on team management and intrinsic motivation. All these that you can see at www.kdeleadership.com/products. So as I said, thank you once again for being here with me. I really do appreciate that you shared that time with me. Please share this video to anybody and everybody out there, because we know that in this world we live in now, we all need a little help. If you have any questions, go to support@kdeleadership.com or send an email to kenny.ewulu@kdeleadership.com, and one or two of our people will definitely get in touch with you. So once again, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. Keep the faith, all right? It's all going to be okay, even as we navigate and get through this world of virtual work. Thank you for being with me.